everyone, welcome back to our podcast. We are Similarly Opposites. My name is Reza-Astrid.
And I'm Sakeenah.
And this is our podcast. There's not much to say. I think this is episode 7. I think by now you should know us. But if you don't, this is a podcast between me and Sakeenah where we just sit down, we have a chat about what's been going on in our lives the past week, as well as our travels. This week is one of my favorite travel destinations that we got to travel to together, but you'll learn about that towards the end. If this is your first time joining us, thank you so much for being here. Please stay tuned. You can play us in the background. You don't have to watch us. This is a podcast, so play it in the background while you're cleaning the dishes or cleaning the house, whatever you may be doing. We're just going to be chatting, and please like and subscribe for more content. Anywho, before I continue rambling, Sakeenah, how is it going? How was your week?
My week has been good. Again, a disclaimer that I've actually seen you this weekend.
Yes.
And if you subscribe and you listen to our last week's video, you know that this past weekend we went to go watch a very interesting movie that Reza was hyping up so much. And Reza, do you actually want to just go into the movie? What was it?
Are we going to go straight into the movie?
Yeah.
Okay, we can do that. On Saturday, we went to watch BTS Break the Silence Persona movie. It is a documentary of the 7 boys and their past tour, their Love Yourself, Speak Yourself tour that happened over 2018-2019, and when they traveled to different countries. And the main idea of the movie, which I realized after watching the whole movie, was that they were speaking about who they are as the person and who they are as the persona, like the person in front of the audience and on the stage. And yeah, what did you think of the movie? Because you're not really a BTS army. You don't really listen to BTS music. You don't really know them. You know of them, of course, but you don't watch interviews or listen to their music per se. So what do you think?
Okay, so I went in there like knowing about BTS because of association, because we went with a group of friends that have always talked about BTS. I've seen BTS on like the platform like We Heart It back in the day, the OGs will know, in like 2014. And I've always like seen them, and my friends would like be into K-pop and stuff like that, but I never actually like delved into the world of K-pop and just like everything Korean, like K-dramas, K-pop, whatever, or the food or anything. So I went in there and I was surprised that I knew all the songs that played in the movie. So like I knew all the songs again, because you either see it like on TikTok, or you like with my friend in the car, she only has BTS music on like a PlayStation, on her like Spotify or whatever, on a playlist. That's the word I was looking for. On a playlist. So I knew all the songs and I could sing along to the songs, so I knew them. And that was cool. Do not ask me who's who in the zoo, because I have no idea. Like, I don't know who they are really. And I didn't know what their persona was versus their person, because I never understood it. Wow. I never understood why like some of them would be like called V and some of them would call Sugar and RM. Didn't know who they were. I know the names like Namjoon. I know the names like the actual real names. I don't know why, and I didn't know it's interchangeable. I thought maybe there was more than 7 people. I don't know. So the movie, in total, I would say it was a boy band movie. It was a boy band documentary, and we've seen these before. I also just think the lifestyle associated with boy bands are all very similar, and it is difficult to be famous. Like, we get that, but like, I don't know, it was quite sad. Like we said afterwards, like it was quite sad. Like, there had to be a difference between their personas and their person, but some of them couldn't make that separation because their whole life was their career, and they spent so much time together. They became like this family and all of that stuff. And who are they without the rest of the members? I don't know. What do you think?
never been into boy bands per se. Like I always join the fandom towards the end, either when they're disbanding, or I'll know of the music. Like for example, with One Direction, I knew of the members, I knew who the members were, and I knew a lot of their music, but I was never a fan where I was like obsessed with one particular member or knew everything about one particular member. And the thing is, the same goes for BTS. Is like, same with you, I know them through association because of friends who are die hard, if I may say that, fans, and they're part of the ARMY fandom, and they buy all the albums and the merch, and you know, they know everything about these boys. And I joined just by listening to a few songs here and there, and then being very intrigued by who they were as a band, and the fact that there were 7 of them. And it took me probably a year to figure out who's who in the zoo. And only like a month ago, I realized the difference between V and Jungkook and Sugar and J-Hope, because in my head, I always got those 4 members mixed up, because they, for me, look very similar to one another. So I was always like, is that Jungkook or is that V? But now I know the difference. But what intrigued me was like their interviews and the way they speak about their fans and the music process, and also how their music is very real and honest topics, and it's also very personal topics. And I also liked how they are a band and they obviously make music together, but they all have their own singular, or they all have their own single individual style and music, and they also have their own projects that they do, which I also found really cool. And as one does when you dive into a fandom, when you dive into a boy band, you get scooped in and you want to know more. I think it just happens. But I have to agree with you, this was my first movie on boy bands or just celebrities in general, because I don't tend to watch documentaries about people. And the whole movie, I felt so uncomfortable. And I don't not uncomfortable in the sense as I was like, ooh, you know, but like uncomfortable in the sense I was like, we look up to these people. We put so much pressure as society on them. And I felt like we were taking so much away from them. And we get so much from them, but we take away so much because we expect more and more and more. For example, we want to know them. We want to know who they are, what they like, what they wear, what their favorite food. You know, we want to know everything about them, to the point that it can get very, like, who are they then? Like, I kept wondering, okay, are you just saying this because you have to say this? Or do you genuinely like what you do? And I also felt so bad for them, because I know in my own life, I feel a lot of outward pressure. I put a lot of pressure on myself because I think about the outward view or what people might think, or, you know, I'm always wondering, oh, I can't do this because people might say this, or they might think this, and so forth. And I mean, if I really think about it, it's like a handful of people, maximum like 200 people that are actually gonna, you know, have a response to anything that I do, if that, you know, it might just be my mom and my dad, you know. But these boys, these men, I don't know why I keep calling them boys, but these men have the whole world that they have to like be a certain person, because they kept saying that they can't really express how they feel truly. Like, they can't say like, we're sad, we're feeling depressed, we're anxious. They can't say any of that, because then automatically the ARMY also say, oh, I'm so sad because Namjoon is sad. I feel so depressed because this one is depressed. And I was like, it's a bit much. Like, I think I don't know what the word is, but I think we put too much emphasis on them as they need to be this picture perfect things. I just think they're still people, you know. And I know all boy bands have that same problem, and I think it's a societal thing then that we need to change.
The thing is, isn't that the price you pay for being a celebrity? Like, isn't that, like, that's going to be the expectation going into this world, and can you handle it? And like, on the other hand, again, like with YouTubers and bloggers and stuff, like, we want so much of them, but in reality, you're seeing 20 minutes max of their day. And they're also putting on a persona and they're putting on a facade, but like, don't we do that in our everyday lives in general?
The thing is, I have a problem with the whole idea of they're celebrities, so they should, it comes with the territory, it comes with the job. Because it's just, at the end of the day, there's still people. And I mean, their schedules, their lives, everything revolves around what we as a consumer want more of. So you can't really rest because the consumer is already over that one song that you just released. They want our album. Then you release an album and then the consumer's like, no, I want another album. You know, it's always like, you always have to one-up yourself. And I think, yes, celebrities do know that there is this pressure. They do know that there is this expectation from society on what they can or can't do. But it's different from saying, like, I think, who was it? It might have been J-Hope. One of the boys said, men said, I should stop calling them boys. One of them said that, I can't remember what they said, but along the lines that it's one thing to say, yes, it was Jimin. He said when he was younger, when he started out, joined BTS, he thought to himself, I don't really need people. I don't really need family or friends. I just need to make it. I just need to make it. And now he's made it, and he's like alone. He doesn't have. He's obviously lost a lot of people, and those people that he has lost, some of them was good riddance type of people. But sometimes you lose people that later on you realize, but I actually want them in my life, And the thing is, going beyond, every time they said something in this whole documentary, I kept relating it to my own life, like how I see how things happen in this real life that I'm living, because last week I said BTS is not real in the sense that they're living their own life on that side, in their own world. And no, we all live in the same world, but it's just, there's different layers. But anywho, I kept thinking like, okay, imagine this was me. Imagine what I would think, or they would say something, I'd be like, yo, that's exactly, I can relate to that, or I can't relate to that. The whole documentary just left me feeling depleted. I just felt so drained at the end, and I was like, is this it? Is this the sacrifice that people have to make in order for us, the consumer, to enjoy music, to enjoy film, to enjoy photos, magazines, anything? But then again, I agree with you in the sense that we all have to make sacrifices for our careers. And I don't know. Thoughts? I don't know.
I said that because the thing is, like, surely going in and you're going into this a very demanding space, being Korean music industry, a very demanding place, like to be an idol, what they call idols, is that you knew the expectations going in because you contractually signed and agreed to all of that stuff. So like, yes, you have the right to complain about the lack of freedom that you have, but it's not like it was just thrown at you out of nowhere. You know what I mean?
I do hear what you mean, yes.
And the thing is, like, I'm going to compare it to like Hollywood celebrities, is like Justin Bieber or like Miley Cyrus. They don't want paparazzi following them around, but they knew that's going to come with the territory when they became a star. Like, no one's going to like that because you're getting like invasion of privacy. Are they entitled to privacy? 100%. 100%. You're entitled to have your own life and your own emotions and stuff like that. And like, I think you must just get to a point in your stardom, I don't know how it works in Korea, where you just like, you know what, whatever, I don't care how they see me today, because if they want to wear like sweatpants and a beanie, that's what they're going to get from me. Do you know what I mean? And also like BTS has existed since 2013, but they're like really blown up in the last few years. It's now like 7 years later, whatever. And I want to say they kind of also had time for like it wasn't for like this exponential growth to like adjust to the climate. Do you know what I mean? Because the army fan base was never that massive, where you have this massive from all around the world expectation of you. Does that make? And also they don't have personal interactions with fans in terms of like being online, because they don't have their own Twitter accounts, they don't have their own Instagram, where it is a direct line to said celebrity. So there is kind of a barrier still.
I just think the lifestyle is just so unrealistic. And it's just so, I don't know. What? Excuse me?
I'm sorry, that's the reason the celebrities, of course, it's not going to be realistic, because if everyone was famous, we wouldn't have famous people.
I know. I just, I did cry twice in this movie because I was just like, so bad. I don't know. Like, when I think about the movie, I just get sad. Like, I just get a pang of oof. Because I don't know how to explain it. It just was really taxing on my emotions. But one thing that as soon as Namjoon said it at the end of the movie, like as soon as he said, I was like, I just kept repeating it in my head because I really wanted to write it down, and it's something that I really want to implement in my own life. And that was that he said that something along the lines of like, we're always seeking happiness, we're always like want to be happy all the time. And he said like, realistically, that isn't possible. We have happy moments, and it's like really good moments that we have, but there's also attached with that emotion comes all the other hardships that we kind of forget, because in the moment we're really happy. And he said that instead of asking yourself or asking other people, are you happy? You should ask them, are you loving this moment? And I was like, oh, because for me, I needed to hear that, because I'm constantly someone, I want to be happy. You know, I want things to go well. I want things to just be happy-go-lucky, everyone's smiling, everyone's having a good time. But realistically, that's not life. Life is not always happy. And if we're always waiting for the happy moments, then we're missing everything else in our lives. So instead to ask, are you loving this moment? At least for me, that's something that I think will be really helpful in my life.
But the thing is, like I just said, like, if everyone is famous, there would be no famous people. So if every moment was a happy moment, you'd never know whether it's there or gone. It would be a constant. Exactly. So you need your in order to appreciate the highs. So that makes sense.
Which is also another thing the BTS mentioned, one of the boys, I don't know, stop saying boys, was that when they have a really good show and the show is like exceeds their expectations, once they leave that show, they forget about it so they can build up that energy, that momentum, that excitement, whatever they need for the next show, so that the next show can be just as good for those fans attending that show. But there's a pro and con to that. There's a pro that, in a sense, you're able to, you know, move on and have that same energy, spectacular event, whatever the case that you need to, and that helps you or helps them prepare and switch off so they can go forward, you know, or they'll always live in that moment, like, oh, we played in Wembley Stadium, and then you're never gonna appreciate every other thing that you're doing. But the big con that I at least saw is that they don't get to sit in that moment. They don't get to, because then it's the next show, then it's the next, you know, they don't get to like whoa, you played in, I mean, they probably do. I'm seeing like 2 seconds of their lives in this movie. But just when he said that, I was like, you don't get to then sit in those spectacular moments, because then you need to prepare for the next one. And again, that is just life of being on tour and being in a band and being famous. It's, you know, you have a really great movie and then you win an Oscar or a Grammy. I don't know. It's not a Grammy. You win an Oscar, I think. And then you have to switch off from that high, because you have to go to the next movie, and the next movie might be a complete flop. but you have to still go to work. You still have to go. You still have to then audition for more roles and more movies. It doesn't just, you can't just, your life doesn't just end when you've reached a pinnacle. And I think that's realistic for our lives as well, is that we think, if I just get this job, if I just get this amount of money, if I just move here, but that's not life. Life is not getting to that pinnacle and then that's it. Life is the continuous flow and ebb and all that stuff of the give and the take, the good, the bad, the ugly, all that jazz, not just the highs. There's lots of lows in life as well, which we don't like to remember or think about. Okay.
And I think it's different. No, I think it's different with like movies and like movie stars, because the thing is, like, when you're on a world tour for music, you're literally out of the stadium before the fans are, because other people are getting out. So like literally they'll be like, "Thank you, Canada," or whatever, and then they'll like immediately go into the car and leave the place, because they have to, one, for safety, and two, they just need their rest. They don't necessarily have to sit in that moment at the venue. They can always reflect back on it. And also, like with sound checks and stuff that we saw, is like they got that moment of wonder, because I think they're so good at like envisioning all the seats are filled, and they get that with sound check when they're able to walk around the stadium, because I think it was a stadium tour, world tour, and then they got to like have those moments before the show with like knowing it's going to be great, which is also cool. And then what do we do afterwards?
We went to a Korean restaurant called the Korean Kitchen. It's in Claremont, across from Cavendish Square at, what's the mall called? Stadium on Main. And I had the bibimbap, which is a mixture of rice and then carrots, mushrooms, bean sprouts, and then beef. And then there was like a sauce, and you just mix everything together, and it's like a beef bowl type vibe. What did you eat?
So I had the tuna mayo kimbap and the teriyaki fish. Was really great. There was like a lot of teriyaki sauce that could like hold on the sauce, but it was like really, really nice. Loads of rice. Loved that. It was so much rice. I love rice just in general. As a note, love rice. So that was like really cool. The vibes were immaculate, and the people we were with were so cool. Like everyone had a chat, and there was a lot of stuff on the table. And I also tried kimchi rice from Shani, and what's that other stuff called? Tteokbokki. Is it tteokbokki or tteokbokki?
Tteokbokki. It's rice cake. Yeah.
It's not like a rice cake. Like everyone's like, it's just rice. Like it was definitely from rice flour instead of like whole rice. And the texture to it is like a squidgy rice noodle, fat noodle. Basically, that's what it is. It's not like a rice cake like we expected. Like people are like, oh, it's rice cakes, and I'm like, a rice cake doesn't look like that. Yeah. But yeah, it was really nice. It was kind of like spicy. But the teriyaki was like obviously sweet and sour fish, and like it's like tempura fried fish nuggets on top of a bed of rice with a teriyaki sauce and like some spring onions for garnish. That's what it's like, massive portions, reasonably priced. Yeah, that's what I have to say.
It was so delicious. So good. I loved it. I think I'm going to Cape Town next week. I think we need to go to the Korean Kitchen again and buy. I really want to eat the fish, teriyaki fish that you had, because it was just so good. Because like you said, it reminded me of the sushi that we always eat in Nuri. So very good.
But that sauce that Nuri sushi have, if you know, you know. Nuri sushi has that like little sauce. It's that same sauce they put on it. Very actually simple to make. I mean, we could make it at a
we
house.
could.
But I mean, it's not that expensive relative. It's the same price as a McDonald's meal. So
exactly, and you're supporting an Asian family, which is awesome, or Korean, and a small business. Yes.
Yeah.
So
It's super important these times, which I also find very strange because like next to it is another like Asian restaurant, and me as a consumer, I would go to the first thing I see, and the other restaurant is the first one I saw. If I didn't know that place. So, and there's also another one upstairs. So that's why I find it very strange that they're all in the same area. Like
you,
against that, yeah.
but I guess you as a consumer, you try here, there, everywhere, and then you start becoming regulars of the one that you enjoy the most.
Probably. I mean, but also I will say that if you are vegetarian or halal, options are more limited, much more limited, because I would do anything for Korean fried chicken. So anyway, yeah, like if you're halal, vegan, vegetarian, options will be more limited, but there is still stuff that I think is safe. Like I would be like, that's safe. That's not so safe. I really want to try. I'm gonna phone them and I'm gonna ask them what kind of chicken they use, because although I didn't see any like pork on the menu, did I miss that? There was just like chicken, beef, and fish.
I can't remember. You can look the menus on your phone.
Oh yes. So I'm gonna ask them like what kind of chicken they use, because I want Korean fried chicken. I'm eating a vegan burger at the moment, so yeah.
Did you find anything on the internet this week?
So what I saw on the internet was obviously I'm in the space of special education, and you showed me, Reza made me watch a K-drama. So Reza showed me like a series. Well, actually I downloaded the series by myself on my phone, and then we went in like an area where there's Wi-Fi, whatever. So I was watching an episode of this. Don't ask me what it's called.
It's called It's Okay Not to Be Okay.
That one. And I was watching episode 1, and there was a scene where you get introduced to this man that's autistic, and the reason they didn't say like what special needs is, and it was so cool because my brain went like one thing happened, and his reaction, and I was like, is he autistic? And you were like, yeah. And I was like, oh. So I felt like really cool about that. But what I saw on the internet, then now before we filmed whatever, there was a granddad. I was watching a lot of granddads because Ellen shared the granddad made his grandson all this stuff made of wood. I don't know. Helen from America shared that on her Facebook. And then I was like scrolling down, and then I stopped because this granddad made his son a hug machine, right? So autistic people, some of them, not all of them, but some of them really find pleasure in like being held tightly. So that's why we have weighted blankets and stuff like that, or just like hugs if you want to, like if you're overwhelmed and you just need some grounding. And this boy always found comfort in that when he had a little bit of a meltdown or a little bit of a wobble, as we like to call them. So his mom always like hugged him, but obviously his mom stays the same size, but he gets bigger because obviously children grow up, and she doesn't have that like strength anymore to just like give him what he needs in that time. So the grandfather made like a little hug machine, which was like out of wood and like hydraulic pressure systems, and then it was like inside of it was like padded with like yoga mat padding kind of thing. And this boy couldn't like control them. He just goes into this machine and it just squeezes him for like the comfort level. And I was like, I need one of those. Like, I don't like hugs. I'm not a hugger. But these moments where I'm like that would be incredible. And I was just thinking about that in terms of like autistic children or adults, but also like with COVID, can't hug anyone. And some people miss that like sensation. So that's something cool I saw on the internet. So everything just full circle. Love that. Love that.
I love that. I definitely need that machine. I told you like a couple of days ago, I need a weighted blanket just so I can have that like pressure of someone just on my body. I think it'd be nice because I do miss hugging people. It's strange because obviously now we can see people, but you still can't hug people and interact and touch and so forth. So it's not nice. And And the first, your knee-jerk reaction is to say, can I hug you? And then like just go in for the hug before someone even says like yes or no. And just to remember that we're technically not supposed to be hugging because it is too close together. Anywho, enough about that. Thanks for sharing what you saw on the internet. I will try and look at the internet with clear eyes this coming week, because obviously I'm not on Instagram, so I feel like I'm missing a chunk of my regular information that I get from Instagram, and I'm not getting that necessarily. But we move, and now we're going to talk a little bit about our travel. Last week we mentioned our first leg of the race in our Europe tour was Amsterdam, and we spent a few nights in Amsterdam, and then from Amsterdam we took a train, I believe it was. We took a train to Rotterdam, and we spent a few days in Rotterdam as well. And so, Sakeenah, over to you. What was your puts and your peaks about Rotterdam?
Okay, so I'm going to start at the beginning where people normally start. I hate when people say that, but I do it myself. So I'm going to start from the train. So we left the train from Amsterdam, which is like a bustling city full of tourists. And then we got on the train and we traveled, I'm going to say like an hour. I don't know, really. Traveled like an hour to a place called Rotterdam, and we got off the train and it was a completely different vibe. So Amsterdam is like old buildings, loads of people, loads of foreigners, and like everyone's just kind of like sticking to their own daily hustle and bustle. And you get out in Rotterdam and there's a lot of young adult people, like people our age.
Sorry, just repeat that. You did mention yourself.
No, I got a phone call.
Oh.
Okay, so you get out on the train to hear that, right? So I don't know why someone's phoning me again. What the heck? Go away. Okay, so you get out of the train and it's like young people, our age people, cool architecture, incredible. And we were like super lucky and privileged to live in one of like, I think it's a UNESCO site. Is it UNESCO? I don't know, it's something protected. So think of like a highway or a road and picture like cube houses going across the road. So we lived in one of those. Immaculate vibes. So we lived in one of those. It's very cool. It's called the Cube Houses in Rotterdam if you want to go like YouTube it or whatever. Oh, we did film, so the videos will be linked below. And yeah, so the vibes were like lekker already, and there was like this big archway food market thing that we saw from afar, and we could see like the paintings on the roof and the murals on the roof from afar. But then we were like, well, we need to go check in our hotel first, drop our bags, and then we'll go explore. So then we went there and we explored, like rested and stuff, and then we went to the food market. Everything you want under one roof. Amazing. And I'm just doing promo. I should work for Rotterdam Tours.
Everything except for Mexican food was under that roof.
Is it?
Yes, because I craved Mexican food. And I was like, that's all I want to eat right now. And there was no Mexican food in the food hall.
But you always crave Mexican food, Reza, let's be honest.
Sorry, keep going.
And then I think I had either fried chicken or like fish and chips. I don't know, great portions, cheap, but like it felt cheap at the time. And yeah, so peaks would be, like the whole trip was immaculate vibes, honestly. I want to say there was a morning where Reza, so this is the thing we said last week, not everybody wants to do the same thing. So Reza, my brother, and her dad, and a cousin, and your brother, did Rhaenyra go with?
No.
No. They went somewhere, and then I was left, because I wasn't feeling well that morning. That probably would be a pit. I just wasn't feeling well that morning. But also, what led to is like another peak. So I was left, and Reza's mom was left, and Rhaenyra was left. And then Reza's mom and I were like, do you want to go shopping? And I really enjoyed that morning. We were just like, so many stories. but you can find it, I think, on my channel. And that was really nice. I also like the fact that like it was so safe as a South African woman, so safe. Like Reza and I, we literally walked like 2 kilometers down to find like where the jewels are at. And we didn't know, all we had was a paper map, not even a Google map, a paper map. And we were like, okay, we'll turn here, we turn here. And then we went to the Aap, or something like that. And yeah, we just had like, we didn't even do anything for one of the nights. We just like, it was nice to be out and like be in and among young people and just see the vibes. So I really like that. What's your pits and picks?
I loved every single moment that I was in Rotterdam. From the moment I love that you explained the moment we stepped off or got off the train and like walked up the stairs, and like it felt like we were just walking into a new world, going from like Amsterdam, which is like bustling and busy and loud and just all over the place, to like Rotterdam, which when we arrived was very quiet, was, you know, there was some traffic, there was some people around, but it was just so serene and peaceful. And I remember walking out of the train station and being like, I like this place. I don't know what it is, but I like this place. It reminds me of Stellenbosch, which I know no one else will probably feel that, but for me, it just felt the same way I felt when I started university and I like moved into my apartment at Stellenbosch. And I was like, oh, this is home. This is home. So I felt very at home in Rotterdam. I loved the people were friendly. The places we went to were safe to go to. It was easy to get by and get around because we lived so close to the train station and so close to the market hall. The food was delicious. Just everything about Rotterdam was amazing. I really, really enjoyed myself. And I wish that I remember like leaving and be like, oh, we could have stayed a few more days here because it was so perfect. I just really, really loved it. We did get to meet some locals and not on Tinder this time, but actually like genuinely meeting them in face to face, which was interesting because we weren't looking for that necessarily. We just wanted to, you know, experience Rotterdam at night and experience like, because there is a university in Rotterdam. And I think that's what gave me university Stellenbosch vibes, is that was that student smell, student scent was around us. Yes.
Because even on the first night when we like explored Rotterdam at night with your dad, you could see like groups of students walking around, and it gave you like welcoming Stellenbosch vibes, you know? Love that.
So true, so true. And just how easy, accessible everything is. Like everything feels close by, at least from where we were staying, because we were staying at the Cube Houses. We got to go to the Cube House Museum. I loved going to the Cube House Museum and just seeing what the inside of a Cube House looks like. I was so glad that we got to stay at a Cube House. Thanks, Dad, for like making sure that we got to try that out. And yeah, I don't know, like every time I think about Rotterdam, and I don't know what it is, but when I think about Rotterdam, I can't stop smiling because it's just such a good time. And like you said, it wasn't that we were doing anything specific. We didn't like have this big tour, this big hoo-ha, like big plans for Rotterdam, but Rotterdam felt like you were at home. So you were doing what you would do at home, but you're on holiday at home. So I loved it. And my pit for Rotterdam, I don't think I got one. I think this is like the one trip where I genuinely don't have a pit at all. And I think if I had to choose one, it'd just be me trying to find fault where there really wasn't fault. I think maybe the biggest pit was the fact that we did walk 2 kilometers there and back, about 2 kilometers there and back, and only to find out that we could have gotten free tram tickets that would have stopped right where we needed to be, but that wasn't even an issue.
That is such a minor thing.
Yes, exactly. We genuinely enjoyed the walk, and I mean, we had some of the best chats walking there, walking back, and just realizing. Another big thing for me was having this realization on this, like literally us walking home at like 3 a.m, 4 a.m, and literally we're walking in the middle of a city. It's quiet. no one's bothering you. People just walk past you, like they don't even look your way type vibe. And I just envisioned what South Africa would look like if we were able to do that. And I had this like bittersweet moment because I was like, this is possible in South Africa. Why don't we have that? And I got a bit irritated that we can't do that here at home. Like we literally fear like 10 p.m., 9 p.m. comes, we're like, you know, and to think we walked a kilometer to go out in the dark, you know, and just all of that, but then realizing if it's safe there, why can't it be safe here? And that was that bittersweet moment that I had those evenings. But honestly, a pit, there is none. 0 pits worth having. It was great. Any pits on your side? You didn't really mention any pits.
I said just like maybe the half an hour wasn't feeling well.
Yes.
Like that's thing.
But I mean, the thing is, also, you always feel unwell at least one day or a few days in a trip. If you guys haven't noticed or heard from the stories we've shared, there's always a moment in time where Sakeenah doesn't feel well. So that was, luckily it was that morning, and then you still got to, it wasn't like usually you get sick for a whole day or something.
And I didn't like throw up or whatever. I was just like, something was just like off, and it could be anxiety, who knows, with this brain. But like, it was just like it's going to end badly if I don't just go take a nap. Also because I think I was super tired. Like, so obviously, I don't know about you, but like when I get tired, my body kind of shuts down because you nap a lot and you can like sleep like that when you go to bed. But like even in Rotterdam, we literally came home at like 4:30 and we had to leave at 6, and I still had to pack to go to the next country, which we'll find out about in the next video. But like, generally didn't sleep. You know what I mean? And I did still 3 countries the next day. Like, sleep, please. If you can take anything away from this video, sleep and go visit Rotterdam. Yeah. But it was so nice, and like what I also liked was the fact that we met these people that we spoke about last week, but they were genuinely like the boy versions of us. Bizarre. Like everything I'm into, they into. Like everything Reza's into, they into. So I really enjoyed that, and there was like no weird vibes or like awkward vibes. They were just there for the chat and for lekkertye, you know. It wasn't like weird or anything. They didn't want anything out of the evening. They just wanted a good time, and we just wanted a good time too. And I didn't even know the boy's name until the last minute.
And they actually showed us a different like
side
or like nightlife that we wouldn't have even, because I remember the first night we walked right past that place and we're like, what is that? And even if we had went ourselves, we wouldn't have known what to do, because you go and then you have to pay at the door, and then you have to pay for a locker, and then you have to leave your things at a locker, and then you go in, and we're like, we don't have English. And they don't English, and we don't have lockers where you can put your coats in, which I thought was so cool. That was another cool thing, is the fact that they know that it's winter and you're freezing outside, but they know when you're dancing, you're going to get really warm, and where you're going to keep your coat. So put your coat in a locker. And yeah, like you said. And the lockers
are big enough because your jacket and my jacket fit into one locker.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also speaking, I was going to say, have you been in Paris yet? But we're still going there. But just the pricing of going out in Rotterdam, and the price of the locker, and then the prices we heard going out in Paris, stark different. And we're like, yeah, Rotterdam student pricing, yes please, I can get with that program. And also with the 2 men that we met, they were like so glad that we went to Rotterdam, because they said like they're from Amsterdam and from a smaller town that none of us would ever know or even know how to Google, but they said they were so glad that we got to experience and see Rotterdam, because it's like a whole different vibe, and it's actually really nice in Rotterdam, and there's like other things to see there that you wouldn't necessarily see if you just went to Amsterdam. So I loved it so much.
But it's the same like Stellenbosch. Like people come to Cape Town and they're like, oh, Cape Town's cool, and like they see the touristy stuff, they see the Camps Bays, Cliftons, waterfronts, but they don't like. And like if you go out anywhere in Cape Town on that side of the world, you see a certain type of Cape Town. But I feel like because Stellenbosch is like this like hot spot of all I mean, not all cultures, but like this hot spot of like young, bustling activity. That's also like really cool for them to experience, and I would recommend that because different vibes, slower paced, immaculate only, you know? Yeah, you're on mute because of the Rufus.
Let's finish this one off. So yeah, that was Rotterdam for us. I think it's definitely a place that we would revisit. It's definitely on my list if I ever go to that side of the world again. And because it's so easy to get to places in the Netherlands and in Europe in general, it makes it so easy to just add Rotterdam to places to visit if you're ever on that side of the world. So don't knock it till you try it. It was great. It was great. But yeah, next week we're going to a whole different country. We're going to a whole different country, and we'll tell you next week what that country is. And Sakeenah has a lot of words about, well, not a lot of words, but she has some words about the country we're going to next.
Do I? We'll find out next week.
But thank you so much for joining us. Next week it's actually quite exciting because on one day we got to go to 3 different countries, but just putting it out there, it is possible in Europe. So we'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I will put the links down below, as well as the playlist for the whole of the Netherlands that Sakeenah went to. I think you did a couple of videos in Amsterdam, a couple of videos in Rotterdam. It'll be down below, as well as where to find us on the interwebs. And yeah, that's everything. Thank you so much for watching. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.